Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Some more live for everybody. Hi, Ashley. I think that's probably Ashley waiting. Um, we're on BookTube here. I've got books. See everybody. Maybe I'll just talk about my goddamn books. Maybe I'll get some viewers that way. I know it's Friday afternoon. Maybe Bruce Halliday and Adam S. Shout out. I'm all over the place. Maybe this will be my new approach. It's just jumping all around on the schedule. I was on Tuesday from 12:30 to 2 or so. Now I'm on. Well, I was going to go on last night, but I was just so. I thought it'd be good to go more or less first thing in the morning when I'm sharp, when I'm fresh as a daisy, and just see if that affects the quality of the output here on the stream. I'm probably, I'm not really baked or anything. So I'm still kind of lucid. And I don't know. Maybe my candor is embarrassing. Maybe it's too hot to touch. That's my trademark. I don't know. For better or for worse. Yeah, so I thought, we'll get the Regis audience. This is our, afternoon chat, daytime chat show. This is The View. For fans of The View. Or Rosie O'Donnell or Oprah. Oprah used to be on at 4 p.m. It's crazy to me that Oprah is like this titan. Oprah is one of the gods of kind of show business. Oprah is one of the most powerful people on the planet. And she was on at 4 p.m. She was syndicated, King World or whatever. Harpo Productions out of Chicago. Celebrities would really fly to Chicago just to do Oprah. Tom Cruise and Travolta are going to fly to Chicago. I guess, why not? It's Oprah. She's powerful. But I digress. We're not here to talk about Oprah. This is our daytime chat show, everybody, for those just tuning in. I really wish, maybe I'll just put tape over the number. I'm just going to put my finger over the number of viewers. That way it won't, because I don't know. I'm a little bit of the theory that, you should be oblivious, or I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like you might be more interesting if you don't care what the audience thinks, or you don't care how many people are watching, or, that's only going to make you nervous. That's only going to make you self-conscious. Don't react to it. It's like every time this number goes up, you think, oh God, I gotta do something to keep these keep these people watching. Otherwise I'm a failure. You don't know what they're doing. They might be watching this on the subway or something. They might just be like, oh yeah, I've got a second. Let me just see what this crazy Matt Proctor the fuck is up to. I got other shit to do. But okay, so for fans of The View or The Talk, these daytime talk shows. This is my daytime talk show, everybody. Click off of Dr. Phil and watch Scenes from a Life, the new media. We're taking over fucking the media, okay? If people would just click and like and support, we could be Elon Musk. We could be cutting the fat of the federal government. We could be accessing the Treasury records and the knock list right now with free impunity. So you bet your ass we're going to be talking about that, Elon Musk, and but not exclusively. I did want to really what I wanted to talk about today was I was reading, because I go to the library. That's kind of what I do as a homeless middle-aged loser. Unemployed. Did I mention unemployed? Or I that's not true. I'm not unemployed. It's just I have a very reasonable amount of, employment. Not like they want you in this country where it's just they want you to just be at work all the time, literally live at work. That's the future they want for you. You're going to be living in your office, and it's not going to be work from home. It's going to be your actual office. As a super commuter, you're either at work or you're commuting. There is no other activity. It's a word salad, everybody. It's healthy, okay? We need more word salad in this fat-ass illiterate country. This morbidly obese, this suicidally obese, uh, illiterate. So I go to the public library, okay? The last good thing in our society, the New York Public Library. They tried to cut their hours. MAGA Eric Adams tried to slash their hours, and we fought back, and we got the hours back. So now I can go to the library until 8 p.m. It's like the bus station. So, I mean, but you couldn't ask for a better place to work. I mean, these are grandiose environments. So my real treat this is well, I won't expose my secret. Let me keep a little something to myself. But Jefferson Market, I mean, Jesus Christ, there couldn't be a more picturesque. That tower, holy crap. I mean, it looks like, what's that, Merlin, the Disney Merlin film. Oh, see, I lost my viewer. I wasn't entertaining enough. Oh, what else is on? I'm going to go back to Dr. Phil. I'm going to go back to Oprah or The Talk or whatever the fuck. I don't know. What are people watching now? Meghan McCain on Jenna Bush on the Today Show. We have to get the daughters of major Republicans on these left-wing media outlets. Joy Behar and fucking Jenna Bush. They're all pro-Israel, probably. So we're going to get into that. I do want to go in. Okay. Yeah, the main thing I want to address is the Biden and Trump Israel differentiating their policy. I've got an article pulled up. So this is my, I'm giving you the table of contents here. This is on the menu. These are the things that I sort of planned. And then we'll talk about other things as the pothead distraction and lack of discipline kind of sees fit. This is C-SPAN 2 with Brian Lamb. I'm the owner and the operator of this network. So you're supporting a small business, everybody. Give yourself a like and a subscribe if you're watching. Hey, do it for yourself. We could be even more powerful if they'd let us. If the audience was there. So, yeah, okay. So what I really wanted to talk about, I was going to the New York Public Library. And, I'll pull a few, could do my writing, really. I'm trying to refocus in the illiteracy crisis and the, the gutting of the Department of Education. I want to but also the flourishing. There's a counterbalance to all this shit. It's like as the masses stop reading, celebrities are reading more. I mean, there's more celebrity book clubs than there's ever been. Kaya Gerber has a book club. Reese Witherspoon. I think Reese Witherspoon literally has made millions of dollars off of her fucking book club. So it's a huge profit source. Now you can exploit your literary aesthetic, dark academia, the tweed. And so that's, the rich get richer, the poor get more ignorant. They're rolling in the mud. They're at the gathering of the juggalos. Who knows what the fuck? I mean, they're all on Call of Duty, GTA 6. They're just waiting for GTA 6. That's basically what most of anybody, who's not an elite educated private school voucher boarding school person, they're waiting for GTA 6. And so I don't know, but personally, I don't know. It's been long enough. The boo-boos are I don't know. Well, the thing is, the whole book industry really changed, like everything, I guess, during COVID. It's just like the price of everything shot up. And suddenly books were like everything. They'd been upcycled. Everything that's like kind of a material good, because we don't make anything anymore, or everything that's made is made in China, or it's using some kind of like degraded materials. They're cutting corners. There's no quality to it. There's no durability to it. It's all planned obsolescence. And so books are kind of no different, right? I mean, in the one hand, there is this kind of flourishing of self-publishing, and all my friends have books, so I think that's amazing. But on the other hand, it's like used books, going to bookstores has become a lot more expensive. I mean, that's one of the things I had for myself in this life. It's sort of my burden and my, like, I don't know, hobby and sanctuary is like collecting books, right? They were cheap, sort of. Nobody really cared. There were dollar racks. I mean, in a lot of places you have 50, I mean, Housing Works used to have a 50-cent rack. In LA, fuck, some of these libraries, they have a 10-cent rack. You literally get a stack of books for 50 cents before the pandemic. I mean, that stuff has all inflated, like everything, the price of eggs. No one was complaining about the price of used paperbacks, but even thrift books, that was sort of like a hack during the pandemic. Their whole policy has shot up. So it's predatory. It's getting harder to be kind of a literary citizen in some ways. Or, that's one reason why I do this, and I sort of embrace the shift, or at least try to like participate. It's not about abandoning literature, like books are still these essential kind of machines. And but part of the reason why people don't read is because we're just ripped apart by a million different stimulations that are quicker, easier, more immediately gratifying. Getting on your phone, it's hard to avoid that. It's hard to resist TikTok and Instagram and the kind of hyper glowing, illuminated, hyperlinked, connected, air fucking drop book of the phone. The phone is a kind of like hyper manuscript that connects everything. And, as much as we talk about how reading is dead, I think in a lot of ways it's just shifted. People are reading, or they read on their phones, right? I think. Does your average person read like articles? I think they do. I think people like read articles, sort of, or, at least like they're texting. Nobody talks on the phone anymore. That's sort of reading. That's sort of writing. I think you just have to lower what the standard of literacy is. I think text to speech, that should count as writing now. Anything text to speech counts as literacy. Or I don't know, like there is I mean, I know that I do. I'm constantly reading things on my goddamn phone. And probably I mean, I guess my friends are probably readers, but even the ones, like people I know back home aren't necessarily book people, but they definitely read articles on their phone and they're very informed. My friends from high school and stuff, like they do read articles, but also like I will embrace the idea that TikTok is just another avenue for the same content. You can include things that would be in a book, be in an article, through a TikTok video, through a podcast. And I think we should look at these long form podcasting things as sort of a form of if not literature, then something new, some kind of new, expansive, intricate, detailed, verbal. Maybe it's not written down per se, although, right, everybody's watching TV with the subtitles on. That's reading. And they say we're illiterate. I'm watching fucking Young Sheldon with the subtitles on, god damn it. I'm a cultured aesthete. I'm an intellectual, god damn it. I'm watching Big Bang Theory. That's about scientists. I'm watching true crime. That's nonfiction. I'm watching autopsy shows with the subtitles on, god damn it. That's reading. It's just weird. It's weird, right? Like people aren't reading books and yet the subtitles are on. Or like you're reading something on your goddamn phone, or forums. A lot of people are in forums, or they're in Facebook fucking I mean, Facebook is not really a video or it's a big comment section, essentially. The status update and fucking responses to that, comments, that's writing, that's reading. Even the dumbest people I know, all of the dumbest people I know are on Facebook reading and writing things. And so is literacy really dead? It's just shifting. It's just morphing like everything right now. It's being disrupted. And so, I don't know, for whatever reason, I think it's like a self-improvement thing, or like you need to feed yourself new ideas, things to talk about on this. And so, I don't know. I've tried to sort of like get back in touch with reading as a more linear like with poetry books. One of the things I like about poetry is it feels like a more advanced form of reading, or it's just a more liberated you can read it however you want. You can pop open a poetry book and just kind of scan it. That's generally how I always read stuff. I sort of skimmed, not novels or things like that, articles, but like when you're sort of testing a book out, seeing if you want to read it at the store or whatever, you pop it open, you flip through the pages, and you kind of graze. You're trying to scoop up things that interest you. You're looking for things that speak to you. There is a sort of bibliomancy to it, flipping open to certain pages, to finding the right passages or finding. And it's hard, right? It's hard to find the right book at the right time. It's a big investment. A book takes 30 or 40 hours sometimes, at least a few hours, at least 4 or 5 or 10 hours to read, probably. Whereas, like with poetry, there's some ways that poetry just kind of resists being totally understood, just like inherently. And so it feels okay to kind of go through the book and almost like create your own poem, like that's like a cut up, sort of unconsciously, as you're sort of skimming through it. And you're just looking for lines that pop out at you, words that pop out at you, things that grab your attention. Everything is like that now. We're living in an attention, uh, it's not even an attention economy. It's the attention wars or something. They've upgraded it. The media has upgraded it. We're in, just getting people's attention. Suddenly everybody's like obsessed with this. How do you grab people's attention? And books, it is sort of a class thing to have leisure time and education to read. Reading takes time, a quiet place, and attention span, right? There's a war on the attention wars. There's a war on our attention span. We have brain rot. Gen Z, Gen Alpha's attention span has just been melted to the point where it like doesn't even exist anymore because of TikTok. I mean, TikTok is by design is short attention span. I mean, there's hardly any videos on there longer than 15 seconds. And it's totally non sequitur. It's totally just jumping around. It's totally a collage. Yet it's sort of related because it's you. It's what you want to see in your deepest kind of unknowing desire. TikTok just serves it up to you. It's like it knows all your favorite foods even better than you know them. It's just like, here, try this. Here, try this. Here's another hors d'oeuvre. Here's another bonbon of content. Eat it up. And we don't care what the hell it does. Just take the dopamine, take the little pellet, the food pellet, keep hitting the feeder bar. We're just rodents. We're just lab rats for the Chinese, for China, for the Chinese spy app. And keep hitting that feeder bar. I know I do. The book, So a book, I don't know, suddenly feels like an island or something. If book feels like a desert island, it suddenly feels so desperately unconnected and analog and separate, almost like it doesn't even exist, because it's, when I pick up this Joe Taravolo book, it's not hooked up to the internet. It's not a Kindle. It's not smart. It's not a smartphone or a smart TV or a smart refrigerator or smart fucking whatever the fuck watch. Suddenly everything's got to be on the fucking internet, which is, I don't know, it's kind of nice if you can afford it. If you can afford to not be on your fucking email all day for your job. And so you're just dragged into this space of distraction, carnival barker, like, hey, look at this. Come on in. Check this out. Check this out. Just give us a minute of your time. Just open Instagram real fast. Just see who looked at just check, just check your Facebook real fast. And don't worry. And then you get sucked in. It's hard. That's one of the crises, I think, as a writer. And the two habits I guess, go hand in hand. That's one of the things a lot of people say is, in order to be a great writer, you have to read a lot. But as far as like trying to be a writer in this day and age, there's so many distractions, right? I mean, there was when I used to try to write things that had sustained focus and were linear and were narrative and were concentrated, the battle was like, how do I get the Wi-Fi off my laptop so I can write? Otherwise, I'm just going to get on the fucking internet all day and waste time and open tabs and read articles and whatever. I'm going to distract myself because it's hard. The internet is right there. It's a click away when you're trying to type things up. And so my entire writing process just shifted to say, like, okay, let's just embrace modern life. And if this is what modern life is, where it's just like skipping from one distraction to digression to another, one tangent to another, and we're okay with the non sequitur kind of piecemeal heap of images. I mean, I guess the 20th century was about fragments. T.S. Eliot, and he kicked that off, I suppose, and Ezra Pound. Collage art, a heap of broken images, right? That's what T.S. Eliot said about The Wasteland. So maybe, I don't know, what's the 21st century? It seems like hyperlinks. My poems are all hyperlinks. Every line goes someplace else. And the distraction of it and the non sequitur of it and the jamming things together of it, that was just a way of trying to cooperate with modern circumstances. And the way, it is hard to afford a place where you can sit down and sustain 4 hours or 8 hours of writing. Rent costs money. It's more expensive than ever, right? So you got to have some kind of job. Then you got to have a life outside of that. So where do you find time? And I love to write. And it's my favorite thing. And so I've really spent most of my adult life just like writing, to be honest. Not that it's gotten me anywhere. And learning how to develop a process and a setup, right? Like David Lynch says, you got to have a setup. To an artist, it's like if you're a painter, you got to have a studio. And for a writer, it's like you kind of have to define that for yourself. Does that mean having a desk? I used to have beautiful roll top desks in middle school on through college. I had these, you used to be able to go to a fucking thrift store in Columbus, Ohio and buy a goddamn roll top desk. Like you're fucking Andrew Carnegie or something, or JP Morgan Chase, or who, I don't even know who the fuck even uses a roll top desk. Fucking O. Henry. I had a roll top desk like I was the Pringles guy. Does Gen Z even know what the fuck a roll top desk is? Talk about design, Jesus Christ. There's nothing more fucking classy and refined than a roll top desk. It's the ultimate. It's oak. The drawers are heavy. You used to be able to buy a roll top desk for like pennies on the dollar. Literally 10 or 20 bucks. You could probably get a roll top desk. I had a fucking word processor. I wish I could get a word processor today. The word processor is the ultimate writing device. There's no internet, but it's still a screen. It's still like you can save things. It's not a typewriter where if you fuck up one thing, you got to like retype the whole shit. Who knows how the fuck they even did it? My mom is somebody that she's worked in law offices her whole life. She was hired because she was good at typing. My mom is like the fastest typer you'll ever see. She's unbelievably fast at typing. If she makes a typo, she'll just go back to the beginning of the line and delete the whole line. Because she's so fast at it. She started on fucking typewriters. And now look where we are. We're going to have a chip implanted in us. Everybody's typing with their thumbs. So anyway, having a desk is a tremendous privilege. When I was a kid and my parents were paying the rent, I could fucking have a roll top desk. Not that they'd let me sit there. You had to go outside and play or go get a job or something. But there's so many things that are hostile in our society towards becoming a writer. Nobody wants you to sit at a desk trying to think of imaginary characters. You really have to like earn that for yourself and figure out. And so for me, I just had to streamline everything. And that includes my writing process. That's why I do the fucking notebook pieces, because it's like my desk is Whole Foods. My desk is the library. My desk is the fucking train. My desk is fucking Central Park. Plein air painting, right? Those painters took their easels out into the they had some kind of paint suddenly where they could go out into, it wouldn't dry, or I don't know. Somehow they could find, the technology enabled them to go out into the world and just paint on location, not in the studio. It's nice to have both. It's nice to be able to sit at a desk. And so the New York Public Library sort of generously provides that. You have these beautiful chambers, grandiose. This is socialism. This is, or it's philanthropy, if you want to call it that. The robber barons, I guess, are the ones who built these fucking places. Why doesn't Elon Musk build some fucking marble libraries with his 400 billion fucking dollars? Rather than wanting to take this shit away from us. He's the opposite of a philanthropist. He's trying to go in and take the government's philanthropy away from us, if such thing is true. And so there's lesser and less. They don't want that. They don't want you to be able to go and sit in the library all day for free. They want you to go out and get a job. They want you in the fucking office 80 hours a week working for them. They want you to be servants. And so the fact that I've even been able to steal a life for myself as like a poet has been like, that's the rebellion for me, is like, fuck you. I'm not going to be a fucking contributor to this giant, unnecessary environment killer, world killing fucking capitalist conspiracy. I'm going to do poetry, which is the fucking opposite. It's like demonetizing, fucking make, it's resistance. I'm making something that's not likable, that's not understandable, that's not marketable or fucking mass appealing Fuck the masses. They all like fucking Slipknot and shit. Not that there's anything wrong with Slipknot, but they're the ones who are letting, Limp Bizkit come back and shit. Poetry is Bartleby. I would prefer not to, right? And going to the public library and just trying to hold out as long as I can into fucking adulthood, creating poetry, creating life, creating real life out in the public sphere with the fucking trees and the other people and the beauty and the buildings. New York is this great public city that they want to turn into fucking Beverly Hills. They want it to be a gated community for billionaires. And I like the homeless. I don't know. I guess the Maxwell Bodenheim thing is becoming more and more present in my life. Just being sort of this stalwart bum poet trying to conjure magic in rags wherever they'll let us, holding out like fucking city mice in the walls, just trying to find a fucking hole where they'll let us, exist for another without having to go to the fucking labor camps. Daydreaming, we're fighting for our daydreams. We're fighting for our imaginations. We're fighting to preserve local beauty, local culture, our own voices, our own visions, not just the corporate mandated mass hallucinatory systems of brainwashing and Hollywood and violent movies and bad music and Pro Tools, Logic, CGI, post-production, Marvel movie shit. Real human shit, eyeball to eyeball. And so I go to the fucking New York Public Library. Thank God for the New York Public Library. We should do more readings. I got to set up another reading there because it's important to just do it there. We stand in solidarity with our libraries. They're the best part of our society. I mean, particularly in New York. I mean, these buildings are really beautiful and old and idyllic. It's like fucking the Sublime. It's like being at fucking Tintern Abbey. Jefferson Market Library or the Rose Reading Room. They're legendary fucking scapes for our story to be written. For the myth of the fucking poets of 25 fighting fascism with our pens. The pen is mightier than the fucking S word. Okay? They might have the guns, but we have the hearts. And so anyway, I've been pulling some books off the shelf. They didn't have my Thurber book. I don't know if somebody checked it out, but I was really going back to read this goddamn Thurber book. Oh, and I also want to talk about that. Somehow I feel like I hallucinated this or imagined it into being. I manifested it. I was on the internet watching movies, as I do, because I've watched more fucking movies than Siskel and Ebert. We watch more fucking movies than Siskel and Ebert. And so I don't know how this movie existed. I guess it makes perfect sense to my sort of greatest generation personality and my sort of 60s male formatted, just like cultural mapping. But there is a movie based on, it's sort of partially based on Thurber. It's called The War Between Men and Women. It was made around the time of it's peak Lemmon. It's early 70s Jack Lemmon. So I've been on this huge Jack Lemmon thing, who's a kind of disappeared American idea of what a male can be. And it's based on the Thurber book, The War Between Men and Women. So he basically plays Thurber in this fucking movie. And it was, like I said, it was made in like 1971. So it's like a James Thurber. I had no idea this even fucking existed. I've just been on this Thurber kick for whatever reason recently because I'm from Columbus. He went to Ohio State. There was this fucking picture. I was looking at these Thurber bios at the Strand last night. There was this picture of Thurber at the fucking christening of Denny Hall, which for my Ohio State Buckeyes out, the English majors out there, the real motherfuckers, Denny Hall was the English building where I had all my fucking English classes as an English major in college at Ohio State. So Thurber was there. He delivered some kind of speech when they opened it. It was a nice building. It was like what an English college building should be, like nice, warm, steam heating, leather chairs, James Joyce Society, like group readings of Finnegan's Wake notices hanging on the doors, all kind of class flyers and shit, teacher's lounge vibes. God bless the English department. We need more humanities. There's a war on the humanities. We need more fucking English departments. And I can't recommend this Jack Lemmon Thurber movie. It's partially like, but it's like, the thing is, it's like, it takes place in the modern day. It takes place like in the 70s. It's not like a period piece. It's almost like fucking Chapter 2 or The Out of Towners. It's like he's in New York and it's modern, but it's like, it's almost like that Bukowski movie. It's very sexist in a way that like Thurber wasn't really that sexist. He was sympathetic toward women, even though he had like his ideas about who the genders were and like the battle between the genders. He wasn't really like a fucking pig, like, Andrew Dice Clay or something, which is kind of in the movie. It kind of takes the least interesting parts of Thurber. Like, it's all about how his eyesight sucks. The whole movie, there's all these gags about how he can't see anything. It's kind of like, I don't know. There's a better Thurber adaptation. They could do a better Thurber, but it was worth seeing because it's just this kind of freak. It felt like a combination of everything I've put in the cultural blender recently. It felt like a Neil Simon movie because it's Jack Lemmon and it's New York, kind of like in the 70s. But then it's Thurber, but then it's, fucking Tales of Ordinary Madness. I've been watching a lot of movies from the 70s. And kind of like early 80s. That's when they made all the good movies, I guess. The new American, even the regular Hollywood stuff. It's like, it's just interesting that they even made a movie about Thurber. Like, there was enough interest that it's like, okay, we'll make sort of like a movie based on this guy. Lemmon doesn't look like him at all. He doesn't even try. He doesn't have a mustache. He just looks like fucking Jack Lemmon, and even his performance, it's not that likable. He's kind of like a douche. I've never even heard of this fucking movie, but for my real Thurber heads out there, for my Ohio State Buckeye Denny Hall for life motherfuckers, it's worth a, that to me, those are the most interesting movies. These movies that are kind of like, you never even fucking heard of them. Like I Ought to Be in Pictures with Walter Matthau. That was like, to me, the best Neil Simon movie. I guess I'm like a cultural ragman. I've been thinking a lot about the ragman. The ragman drawing circles. I guess there still are ragmen. The idea that you could sell rags, or what the fuck, what did they sell? Now it's like the ragman collects cans. The ragman is pushing around an armada of shopping carts full of, aluminum cans and bottles. The ragman as sort of like an antiquated New York, like the hurdy-gurdy man character, the ragman. And yet I feel like my clothes are all falling apart. There's all these holes because I wear the same shit every day. So I feel like I'm accelerating. In the upcoming Trump inaugurated super depression, a depression truly fit for the 21st century of contrast and exaggerated differences. That seems to be what the 21st century is all about. Hyper contrast. The rich are richer than ever. They're greedier than ever. They want to give back less than ever. And they want to slash social programs for us. They want to undo the New Deal. I heard this interesting theory, right-wing theory. Well, they're operating under the opinion that Roosevelt, like the United States is like this monarchy, and it has been. And we've been living under the Roosevelt monarchy since the New Deal. The New Deal created all these programs that in a sense were like Roosevelt being a king, but they're social programs. That's the thing that's not a monarchy about it. It's like the programs were there to like help fucking poor people, the WPA or the building fucking highways or whatever it was. It's like, let's put people to work. We'll create social security so fucking people are taken care of. It's like, that's not a monarchy. Elon Musk is a fucking monarchy where it's like, hey, we want to cut all of that shit. We want to cut Medicaid so I can have more fucking money for fucking rocket ships. So that's a real monarchy. That's real fucking concentrated power. Wealth is just concentrating power. This concentrated wealth, right? So anyway, I'm at the public library because I'm the little rag man drawing circles at the communal table with all the other. I mean, the thing about Jefferson Mark is it's all like people with real jobs and shit. It's all like, people that live in that area that just like they need it's rather than go to a cafe or a fucking WeWork, it's basically a WeWork. Except it's free because you're not an idiot paying for that dumb shit. And they have books, right? That's one of the most, it's just got me back in touch with that. Like, oh my God, I can go to the library and just like pull things off the shelf and sort of like do research or just sort of, like I said, I'm trying to like better myself. Reading feels like the best way to do that. It's like eating healthy food for your mind, I guess. We're under the impression that like reading is better than any other like media activity. Like reading is like good for you, or like it's gonna teach you in a way that other things are not gonna teach you. I think, I guess with a book, you have to take time with your ideas, rereading them, revising them, making them perfect. The idea with a book, I guess, is you can really get it right, get the words right, say exactly what you want to say. With something like this, it's a little more off the cuff. It's a little more, improvised. So you don't always exactly get the best version of what you're trying to say. In that sense, reading does seem to be like a healthier, cleaner form of information and knowledge. And so I think it is important, I guess, to read. And so I'm trying to be better about that. With poetry, like I said, I get high and I just sort of skim through the book, and I don't know. It's more like an energy transference, or you're just it's a buffet, or you're scooping out the flavors you want. It's a burrito bowl. You're getting a little bit of this poem and a little bit of that poem, and you're just getting the parts that you want, I guess. I don't know. And so it's undisciplined, but it's also that just feels how modern consciousness is. We are these sort of like king, or, we have like a sovereignty, or we reign over sort of like our swipes and what we look at and what the phone shows us. And with a book, it's like it just shows you one thing. With my phone, it's like I jump through all these different fucking modes really quick. Instagram, Facebook, article, text messages, emails, pictures, videos, TikTok, whatever it is, checking my fucking bank account. It's all in one fucking thing. And so a book feels kind of like isolated or like a canal or something. Um, and almost like antiquated, but there are still reasons why I think, especially if you want to learn about something, like if you want to learn about, there's constantly new good books coming out about whatever, what social media is doing to us, or what's going, the inside of the campaign, or inside, it's like, so I'm trying to be, and the library, honestly, as a free place, it's, it's one of the last things like this. It feels like it's like a place in our society. They don't charge you anything. There's no, there's no membership fee. There's no video rental fee. You can go, you can just check books out for free as a fucking, as long as you have an address, you can have a fucking library card. It's not even like you have to be a resident or a citizen or anything. I don't think, you have to be a resident of New York, or whatever library you're going to, but so I pulled a few books off the shelf, yesterday to just sort of, you know, I'm trying to, I'm always trying to see what people are doing in poetry, or, like I found Neil Simon Collected Plays Volume 4 with Rumors and London Suite and Lost in Yonkers. So it's like, okay, I just want to see what it looks like on the page. I've been watching all these movies. Let me just pull the book out and just look at it, skim it around it. Let me just see, refresh in my head what Neil Simon kind of sounds like and looks like when you're experiencing it as a script firsthand. What the hell? It's at the library. I'll pull it. I'll go look at it in my seat or whatever. This is probably what retired people do. I retired in 2012. Everybody should be allowed to be retired. When I'm president, everybody will be retired because everybody deserves to be retired. Because that's what being alive should be. It's just like, oh, I can travel around, I can eat in restaurants, I can, sit around and look at the sky, go to the park, talk to people casually. I can write a book, whatever I want to do. Go to the library every day, look at the microfiche. I'm retired. And apparently Melville would go to the library every day and read the periodicals. The library's got all the magazines. I looked at Art Forum. The best thing about Art Forum is the top 10. I want to see what's going on in the art world. I love the Art Forum top 10. Any kind of top 10, I guess, is just makes things easier, makes things more digestible. Lists. God bless lists. The list poem. My live streams are kind of a list. Thank you for watching and liking, subscribing, everybody. Give yourself a like because we love you so much. Thank you for give back to yourself with positivity and paying it forward. So I pulled this book, Stendhal Collected Nonfiction. Stendhal, they mentioned in one of the movies we were watching the other day. Maybe Star Spangled Girl. I forget which one. And I never read the Red and the Black, or what the hell else did Stendhal write? I always mix up Flaubert and Stendhal. I had a book when I was younger, Stendhal on Love. And so I'm not really sure, like, what Stendhal is. Are they a novelist? I mean, Red and the Black is a novel, right? I mean, the 19th century was the heyday of novels. Like, novels are still out there. Charterhouse of Parma. There you go. He is highly regarded for the acute analysis of his character psychology and is considered one of the early and foremost practitioners of realism. Interesting. So maybe I should get into Stendhal. I love realism. I'm all about realism. Um, as you can see, I'm all about real. I'm all about fucking real. My shit's all wrinkled and real. The rag man. It's all about real. Type shit, type shit, type shit. Real, real, real. The real, real. Type shit, type shit, type shit. Type shit. And so I was looking at this with collected nonfiction of Stendhal. What jumped out at me is he had all these pieces he had written about poetry, right? And so I wanted to see his criticism of poetry, but apparently he knew Lord Byron. And so I read all these fucking nonfiction accounts of Lord Byron from Stendhal, which, you know, this is what I live for. Is this kind of shit? Is like obscure nonfiction biographical information about poets, lives of the poets type shit, type shit, type shit, type shit, right? Um, like, and it, and so like the Thurber thing, the Years with Ross is like, I love reading, I don't know, because the poets are such heroes. They're such animated characters. And I mean, especially the romantics, but, and it also, I don't know, it just gives you ideas about how you're doing it, or it kind of reaffirms how you're doing it, you know, or like this is how poets live, you know. It's like it gives you, oh, okay, poets are supposed to be ragmen, and they're supposed to go to the library, and they're supposed to read at Washington Square Park or whatever it is, you know. They're supposed to hand out pamphlets, or they're supposed to, you know, like Vachel Lindsay, Adventures Preaching the Gospel of Beauty. He gave out zines basically where he had psychedelic drawings, and he would pay his way across the country by doing poetry readings and giving away his fucking zines basically. This was in 1900, you know. I learned that by reading his fucking autobiography, right? Being a poet is just as much about being a poet as it is writing poetry. It's about living fucking poetry. And that means fucking talking to trees and wandering through the park and going to open mics and reading fucking lives of the poets about goddamn Stendhal writing it. So, but it's also, you know, like this is stuff that I don't know, it's not in the canon. You're never going to hear um you know, like those Hemingway World War II writings. It's fun to like discover shit that you're like, Jesus Christ, how have I never heard about this? How have I never heard Ernest Hemingway was literally in a fucking boat at D-Day, and his wife Martha Gellhorn was there too, and Hemingway was literally there when they liberated Paris, and he wrote all this fucking stories about it. Not fiction, but literally he wrote for magazines like his firsthand account of fucking D-Day. It's like, how have I never heard about this? How is this not published anywhere? There should be a fucking collection of that. It seems kind of historically important. So that's, you know, like with movies, it's the same thing. I kind of like discovering these like B-sides, or I don't even know if it's like discovering B-sides. It's just like, that's the stuff that I find interesting. You know, these things that you know, so like this Stendhal thing on Byron felt like, okay, you're probably not going to find this in uh I don't know. Maybe you'd find it in a collection of criticism of like Lord Byron or something, Bloom's notes. Maybe he would collect something, but it felt like, oh, this is like an interesting, because Stendhal was a novelist, right? He was not a poet. And yet, what's his relation to poetry? He seems like he's interested in it. He cares about it. And part of what made it interesting was the way that Stendhal wrote about poetry, and he really did care about it. And he would talk about, you know, this was a time when like the continent of Europe, I think he was from Paris or Marseille, or he's French, right? But he writes about Italy a lot. He spent a lot of time in Venice. That's where he met Lord Byron. And the way he writes about Europe, the way he talks about, I guess you'd call it racist now, but it's like, you know, he's differentiating between the cultures, where he's like, oh, Italians are like this, and so their poetry X, Y, or Z Dante is such a huge part of Italy, right? And so he's talking about the poetry of Italy, even though he's fucking French. And he's like, I forget, there's this one poet he talks about, Bertelli or something. He talks about as being the kind of like most important poet in Italy at the time. And it's like, there's all these dialects in Italy. I think he writes in Milanese or something. And he's important to like the spirit of like the nation because of his poetry. And I guess Lord Byron met this guy when he was in Italy. And according to Stendhal, anyway, Stendhal was there. He said that this is what inspired Byron to write Don Juan, was witnessing what this Italian poet, he had written some long fucking epic or some shit. And so Byron saw the effect that it had in Italy, this poet's sort of like serial and just status as a poet in that culture. And it's what inspired him, according to Stendhal, to go back and write Don Juan, this kind of long epic that sort of made, was Byron's kind of like, at least according to Stendhal, it was his sort of ultimate supreme achievement after Childe Harold and I don't know, all the other bangers, all the other club bangers that Lord Byron wrote. One of the first things Stendhal says, one of the interesting things about reading this stuff, particularly, like Life of Johnson or Boswell, things from previous centuries or the past, is like you see how little shit has changed, or it's like in certain way, a lot of these problems were always there, or these issues that we face today. Like one of the first things Stendhal mentions about Byron is in England, he's talking about the English culture, and one reason why, one of the things he says, French are better at satire and comedy, right? French have Moliere, they have Tartuffe, they have Racine, but they don't really have a Shakespeare, right? There's something about French society and French culture that they appreciate, or like they're in the mode of comedy and satire kind of more. Whereas like the English, right? I forget exactly what he attributed it to, but they're able to create something like Shakespeare because of the way their society is and how it's different than France, and just the character of the nation, right? That's the impression you get with the old Europe, is like merry old England, and France had like a personality and a character as like a nation, and that was like important. The way that the French were versus the Germans or the Italians or the Spanish or whatever, right? The local dialects, the kingdoms within the kingdoms. And it's really this collection of all these little principalities or whatever. And now we live in this homogenous world, right, where we have this kind of global monoculture. So things like that are less pronounced. And there's also, I mean, it's less acceptable to sort of talk about the differences, or to judge, or to assess people based on where they're from or something, right? It's like you can't really be like, oh, well, Italians are X, Y, or Z. It feels sort of borderline racist. We're global now, right? We're globalists. Like that, it's like that interview with Orson Welles in Henry Yaglum. Henry Yaglum had that book Lunches with Orson or whatever it was. And Orson Welles is just, he's from that culture where it's like he spent a lot of time in Europe in the early 20th century. And it's like he's making these broad pronouncements that to us sound like kind of like, uh, stunning, or you're sort of taken aback because he's like, oh, the French are blah, blah, they're X, Y, or Z, or the Germans are X, Y, or Z. And it's like, you can't talk about people like that now. It's like, uh, but so one of the things Stendhal talks about with England is like, there's something in their society where the basically the working people are taxed to support the aristocracy or whatever, or this sort of like sinecure class of people that of which Byron was a part of, right? One of the first things Stendhal says in this essay, he starts by talking about the culture of England and how they have this system of like whatever the king's ransom or whatever, and how they go around and they basically keep the serfs as serfs through basically what we have now, right? Is like people just work for low wages and they're taxed and blah, blah, blah. And that money is used as sort of a socialism for the rich. It's given to as a salary to the gentry. And so he says something about Lord Byron's family gets a salary of £1,700 a year. And that's sort of what enables Lord Byron to be Lord Byron. This sort of celebutante Paris Hilton of fucking romantic poetry, where he was, I guess, sort of the first modern celebrity. He was like Drake or something, where it's like everybody paid attention to Lord Byron. And so that's just like now, sort of in a way, where it's like you have this class of financier, trust fund kids, right? Nepo babies. That's what everybody complains about now, who have really they won the election. It's vindicated the Nepo babies. You're hearing that less now that the rich people are cool, and it's cool to be Republican. It's cool to be a yuppie. It's just like the 80s again. It's just, New York has always been full of right-wing finance dickheads who the MAGA thing is just the newest face of that. It's the same. It's the bonfire of the vanities. It's American Psycho, and it's been here. But it's just interesting to see that, right? Like that's the first thing he talks about is basically like this class issue. And I mean, Stendhal really keeps it real. It's interesting the way he writes, because I wish there were modern critics that spoke with that kind of outspoken power and authority and made pronouncements about the culture, because there's a lot you could say about fucking American culture right now, and why it creates the works of, and why it champions the works of arts it does. The American audience, the American character, we are the frog in the boiling water. People really don't know. It's a land of extremes. It's people like feeling like they're hardcore. They like face tattoos. They like drugs. They like whatever that fucking song is. They like Taylor Swift. They like the fucking Grant. I don't know. They like this, Trump is the fake titties candidate. He's the big guns, the big trucks. This is America. It's a stupid fucking place. It's not this little dainty European French kingdom where they have 3 different salad forks. It's like Americans eat baconators. We like being badasses. We like riding Harleys. It's a big ass country. It's a big fucking landscape. And we tame this motherfucker by killing a lot of people. So that's a big part of it too. The violence of America. America was founded on violence, and it's a war machine. You cannot spend this much money on war, and you cannot filter this much of the population through the military, and everybody's watching violent fucking movies all the time. It's like, this is why they don't appreciate good poetry. This is why nobody watches my live streams. Because America is like not a subtle, nuanced place. People think My Dinner with Andre is gay. It's for gays. Poetry is gay, obviously. I mean, poetry is the gayest thing that you can do other than having sex with a man, I think. And that's okay. That's why we love it. I don't know. What's gay about it? I don't what's a homophobic culture? Let's just say that. Or it's complicated. America's trying to tie a lot of strains together. And so it is a multifaceted place, but also the racial melting pot. That's one aspect of it that is you can't not talk about that. That's what makes America different. It is a place where anybody can come, refugees can come. and we will give you a home, and you can make a life, and become a equal ID. I mean, that's part of the propaganda. People have, now it's just America sucks. It's violent. It's genocidal. It's like, the ideas are kind of good. If we actually did the ideas, if we took the good ideas, like everybody's equal, we'll revise it. It's not just all men, it's all people. It's gendered in a way that is problematic and antiquated and needs to be updated. But the idea is not bad. It's better than a techno feudalist monarchy run by apartheid crypto bros from South Africa, which is what we got. Which I guess is what it has been that, the South invented a lot of this shit. We can't pretend like it's not a part of our history, but we can do better. So now we're pivoting to politics. We talked about Stendhal and Lord Byron. He met him in Venice. They just hung out, at all these fancy. It's interesting to hear about Venice in that era. It seems like it was because it was like the New York, right? I mean, it was this port city. They had all kind of eyes wide shut parties there, like in New York now. People wearing, those party masks and shit. Lord Byron was there, but okay. So part of Lord Byron, the nuance of the truth of Lord Byron's life is like, even though he was a celebrity and he was famous and people bought his poetry like it was fucking Drake or something, he was also hated by the aristocratic class that he was a part of. Everybody was sort of jealous of him, and he was this they were haters, basically. They didn't like his swag and his moggy, mewing, Giga Chad. He was bussing too hard, I guess. No cap. And so they hated him. He was ostracized, and people wanted him to fail. And there was some poet, Southey or something, that I guess Stendhal was claiming that all of the aristocrats would buy Southey's poetry because he talked shit about Lord Byron, or he was against Lord Byron. So it's like all these rich people were like in solidarity with this fucking in the poetry war. In the East Coast gangster rap, West Coast of the early 19th century. Byron was like Tupac, and Southey was like, I don't know, Puff Daddy or something. And so it was not easy to be Lord Byron, even though the ladies loved Lord Byron and they wanted to get to know him. The two go hand in hand. The more people hate you, the more, I don't know. It's because you're doing something right, and women like you. Women are the barometer. Anything that women respond to, it's probably like the newest thing. It's probably like the newest, coolest thing that is working, because they don't lie. They're not ruled by bitterness and ego and jealousy in the same way. Or in a different way. Maybe they are in a different way. Apparently, Lord Byron, they said the way he would work, he would write 100 lines every morning, and then he'd kind of go out and comport his business through the day. He'd go to the opera. They said one of the things that made Venice, he said, I think it was Venice, maybe it was Florence. He said it's the only city that retained its jovial kind of character. I forget what it was, that kind of Napoleon or some shit. All of the other towns in Europe were too serious. They were kind of hamstrung. Like now, to be honest, people were hamstrung by some kind of inhibition or judgment of each other. I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but he said Venice, he said they would meet everybody, all of the socialites or whatever would meet in the same place 300 days a year at the opera or wherever the fuck it was, the Scala, because that was like the hub of social activity. And he said that's what kept it this kind of like jovial, like community place. That's the word we would use now, I guess, community. And I think it's just interesting to hear him talk about culture and cities that way, because I think you could totally do that now. It's just like I don't hear people doing that. It's like, is New York dead? Where's the place? Where is the fucking and it has to do with like the soul of the culture, right? He says like the artists are a part of that. The music that that we're able to create, give voice and personify the era, right? Like Bob Dylan songs in the early 60s. Think about what would we how would we characterize that era without that music? The sound of it, what it was saying. But he was speaking from an American circumstance, right, that created that voice. Woody Guthrie and hoboing and riding fucking trains and this giant, kind of like untamed, unsurveillance, unsupervised country. Bob Dylan had been around and seen that shit. He's from Minnesota, folk music, that whole tradition. But also like an economic great society thing, the New Deal, rent controlled apartments created the circumstances for that culture. We have a much different nation today with a much different spirit. People, even Kanye West is a fucking Nazi. He's the fucking billionaire artist of, music. I mean, who is a better, but he's indicative and he's reflective of the culture that he's a part of. He's totally narcissistic. He's unhinged as fuck. I don't know. I don't even want to get into that. I don't even want to analyze that. We won't even go there. But these things are all like a machine that kind of reacts to each other, and it's important to think about them. Why is our culture, why is the music sound this way? Why does the verse sound this way? People know it when they hear it. When the music that gets popular, I guess, is the music that like it's like the newest sound that you're like, oh yeah, this is reflective of like what the modern world looks like and what technology enables. Like when new metal came out, it was like that was the newest thing that guitars could do, and it sounded dystopian and kind of dyspeptic and dark, and it was post grunge. It was incorporating hip hop sort of elements, heavy metal elements. So there were, and it was also that was what was happening to the world. Things were becoming more screen based, and I don't know. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you're just now tuning in, we're just talking about Lord Byron. Okay, so he would write 100 lines every morning, and then he would go out to the opera and shit, talk, walk around with his friends, stroll. Stendhal keeps comparing him to Rousseau, which was it was a comparison Byron did not like, because Rousseau had been a servant. He was part of the working class, and so Byron had disdain for him. He's like, don't compare me to that trash. He was a servant. I'm Lord Byron. I'm an aristocrat. I've never worked. I've never sweated. I'm like a fancy lad. I've never broken a sweat in my life, in my young life. Lord Byron was a fancy lad. And Rousseau was, I guess, had been a servant. And so he did not like the comparison. But in any case, after his evening comportment with society, he would return to his chambers. And I guess he would edit his 100 lines down to 20 or 30 lines, they said. His best shit, his most, premium banger stuff. And then it said when he had 500 lines, he would send it off to his publisher in London. And then his publisher would release the mixtape or whatever, the zine. the chapbook, the pamphlet, the newest word on high from Byron in Venice on the continent, doing the grand tour. And that's something poets have to do, right? You have to go to Italy. You have to look at all the statues and all the old towns and the frescoes and shit, in the light, in the hills. You have to go where Dante was. And, these kind of writers like Dante, right, cast the character really of the whole country. Dante is still kind of an essential part of Italian culture. He keeps mentioning Voltaire. Voltaire, I guess, was some kind of big deal. Enlightenment. When the Enlightenment came to blah, blah, blah. All these, he's tracking all of that stuff. And I don't know. That's why I couldn't put it down, right? I mean, it's interesting to hear this fiction writer's firsthand account of Lord Byron and what Lord Byron was like. And he said he keeps talking about his eyes. Lord Byron's eyes were like magic. And it said his conversation was not always, sometimes he could he said when pretty women would show up, he'd crank it up a notch. But a lot of times Lord Byron would just sort of his conversation was not necessarily anything special. He would just sort of recount the information or whatever. But apparently his eyes, he was very short. He was 5 feet tall or something. And then he refers to one guy, I forget who, as being very tall. And then he says the guy's 5'6". So I guess that's how it would have been in, 1819 or whatever. Being 5'6", you would have been just a Giga Chad. I would have been a Giga Chad. I would have been like Jacob Elordi of 1819. Instead of a, medium king, a California king, as I, have been deemed by society. I've been cast, I've been pigeonholed, I've been vanquished to being a medium king. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're live from New York, goddammit, on BookTube. We've got books. We're talking about Lord Byron, okay? This is information for all the writers on BookTube. Instead of reading, they're watching fucking YouTube videos. I encourage people to read while they're watching my YouTube videos, or do something else, draw, have a video on. Oh, you don't have to look at me. Just put a Neil Simon film on while you're, or put, better yet, put on my latest vlog while you're listening. This is more of a radio, like how they tape the Howard Stern or whatever. Okay. I also want to change gears. This is a massive change of gears. How am I going to do this? I don't believe in segues. Because we do need to talk about the politics. I mean, that's really all I had to say about Lord Byron and Stendhal. But it's like our lives haven't changed that much, right? I think this is why I'm talking about it, is because it's just an example. Poets are still doing what they were doing, in the Mermaid Tavern in the fucking 1500s or beyond that, in fucking Athens, Greece, and fucking whatever, 19 BC. I'll tell you this. It's like nothing. People have been reading poetry by campfire. We walk around, we talk to each other, we drink, we party. We go to the opera, we go to the theater. We discuss, we stroll. We write 100 lines. We dash it off to the publisher. And so seeing the way that Lord Byron did it gives comfort. We're doing it right. It confirms the lifestyle, which, can be so, you have to discover it, right? It's like, this is all equipment for how you do it, because there is no map in this. I mean, I guess you go to MFA program. Do they teach this in an MFA program? How to write notebook poems and go out into the world and sit in libraries and do open mics and book readings and publish magazines and do YouTube fucking outreach by posting your readings on fucking YouTube. Just getting it out there, producing, the literature at any scale, at any cost, at any, number of viewers, at any audience. Let's not worry about size or celebrity or clout like everybody's fucking obsessed with. Clout can be so easily faked on the internet. We believe every fucking thing we see on Instagram. All of the tackiest people are getting blue check marks suddenly. Suddenly all these fucking people have blue check marks on Instagram. It's like, what the fuck is this? I don't ever want a blue check mark. Fuck the blue check mark. I want to be a rag man. I want to be a hermit. How do I just move to a shed somewhere with all my books? I guess that's the Unabomber. I don't want to be that. It'd be you want to be like a hermit in the city. That's the ideal. You want your like mountainside hermitage on like Avenue A. Like Richard Hell. In any case, okay, so we'll talk about we got to talk about because I do just want to differentiate because the clout or the complaint that I'm hearing from the left is right that Biden and Trump have the same policy, right? Is Trump is just literally re-employing the same policy that Biden had. And, the left, there's a difference between the leftists and the liberals. And they call the liberals blue MAGA. So apparently I'm blue MAGA. That's what I've been. Well, okay. I mean, I know I've got 3 people watching, and this is like this is the diciest subject to talk about, but we're going to talk about it anyway because that's our job. And so I do just want to say, like, I think it's an exaggeration to say that Trump and Biden's policies are the same on this particular issue. Now, maybe there's not as much difference as we would like, but I also think people are being naive, and this is a problem with the left. They're kind of the exact opposite of the right. Everything is polarized now. It's all polarities. It's all like counterbalanced. The right has no morality whatsoever. You can get away with fucking anything. They don't care. It's like the more you break the rules, the better they like you. Whereas like the left has like absolute morality. You cannot do anything wrong, or you're like a genocidal racist, sexist, homophobic, like literally, if you're not 100% pro-Palestine and just like give the land back, then you're like a fucking racist, like sexist, colonialist, like Zionist piece of shit. And it's like they're living in a fantasy fucking world. And to be honest, it's almost like not participating. And it's one thing to have that belief for yourself. That's fine. That's good. And ideally we would have fucking politicians, possibly. We never fucking have. These people are living, they want to live in a world that has never existed, literally. Like, governments have always been fucking corrupt. There's always been fucking people killing other people to get fucking land. Like, we want to minimize the goddamn damage. And like, you're given 2 options, right? We know, or like the narrative that the leftists believe is like Kamala fucking stole it from Bernie and she is going to be Genocide Joe, and it's good that we didn't vote for her because Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, and all of these people got killed when Biden was president. Biden supported these fucking policies, and there's no difference. And so fuck Kamala, we're not going to vote for her. We are justified. We are vindicated. It's always been this way, like the United States has always been fucked up, shitty, genocidal. Fuck the government. We're not going to vote, you know, we'll vote for Jill Stein or whatever. And you can see the fucking truth about this country and yet still vote to minimize, what's going to be better for Palestinian people? Like, I think you do have to be realistic. Like, I think for one thing, Israel pursued this fucking war just like Russia. If you look, Russia started the fucking Ukraine thing. It was like spring 21 or 22. It was not long after Biden took office. And Israel pursued this shit while Biden was in office because they knew that it would look like, what choice does he have? This has always been the fucking United States' policy on Israel, even when fucking Jimmy Carter was president. Like, what do these people think? That all of a sudden fucking like, you know, I don't even know a politician who is like, even Bernie is sort of like a two-state solution kind of guy, I think. Like, he's not as hardcore. It's like, I don't know who these people think is going to get elected, but it has never fucking happened in this country ever. And so, like, yeah, we're handed like a lesser of two evils choice. But why is it when we're given that choice, people always vote for the greater of two evils? Like, if you thought George Bush was a lesser of the two evils between him and Al Gore, you've got your head up your ass. And same goes with Trump. Like, people here's the thing. It's like, we're not being naive about what Biden's position was. Trump was playing possum about what his position was. He was lying like he fucking always does. He was being coy about it. He was allowing people to think that he was pro-Palestine. Trump was allowing people to think Trump and Bernie are like the same. Like, Joe Rogan's like, well, I would have voted for Bernie, but since I can't get Bernie, I'm going to vote for Trump. It's like, they're the fucking opposite. They're not the same at all. And Kamala is closer to fucking Bernie than Trump is. Like, it is a fucking false equivalence if you think Trump is like going to go in. And so, but he led people to believe that he was going to bring peace. Oh, we just want to bring peace. And yeah, well, what does peace mean? It means displacing all these fucking people and building condos there, bringing peace and casinos. And we want to make it a beautiful place for the world, for world people, for people from all over the world. It's like, yeah, that means he's going to turn it into like just another jet set tourist world gentrifier spot like New York and Tel Aviv and everywhere. Everywhere just belongs to these fucking people, influencers or people with private jets or billionaires or crypto assholes or finance fucking criminals. And we're just going to hop in our private jets from one to the next, going to, fucking luxury brand stores and nice restaurants and cultural events and Trump fucking hotels. And, okay, so I do like, it's about minimizing the damage. If you're not voting for that, and the leftists, like, I understand their thought process, and like, I guess that seems privileged to me, because the fact of the matter is it is actually going to fuck our lives up as poor people, as working class people, that Trump got elected instead of Kamala. The price of everything is going to go up. The inflation is going to go up. And so it is this is what drives me nuts about the woke left. Really, I'm talking about white people. I'm so sick of rich white people telling me that I am racist or I'm homophobic or I'm privileged or I'm the fucking problem. Because it's the ultimate privilege to be like, fuck you. I'm not going to vote for Kamala because of Palestinians being genocided. Like, what about people in the fucking Sudan? What about people in fucking Somalia? What about people in fucking China who are in fucking prison camps? What about Muslims in China who are in fucking prison camps? What about what's going on in fucking Ukraine and how all those people are being fucking killed? It's like nobody gives a fuck about that, but everybody is running their fucking it is and I get it. Like they're right in a way. But also, and I don't know if I should say this fucking publicly, but like I am sympathetic to the idea that like obviously Israel has become it's like the superhero movie thing. Like if you live long enough, you become the villain. If the hero doesn't die, then he lives long. Whatever the fuck that quote is. I hate how like all of like the quotes that people use as like guiding moral principles came from like fucking Spider-Man movies. Like with great power becomes great responsibility. Like this is our the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Is a goddamn quote from a fucking Spider-Man movie about, oh, if you don't die a hero, you live long enough to become a villain. But I am sympathetic to the idea of Israel, to be honest. Like, can they go in and just steal this place? Like, no. But like I don't think that it's not the same as that they're just like imperialists that are going in and like slaughtering these people for for no fucking reason. Like there to me, I don't think necessarily that there should be some kind of way they can live in cooperation and peace or whatever, but it's like they are obviously insanely militarized and Israel is like a a fucked up evil entity as a world government whatever figure. The way that they do shit, they're usually the pioneers of like fucking weird weapon, Mossad and whatever the fuck it is. Like they are a big problem the way they're riling up the Middle East and instigating people. But at the same time, like I'm somewhat sympathetic to the idea that it should exist and like they want to go there or have a homeland there. It's like I'm not like a Christian conservative who's like, yeah, let's send these Jews back to Israel so we can have Jesus come back and then they'll become Christians. Like that's fucking crazy psychotic shit. And they're all Zionists, and that is psychotic and fucked up. But I'm all like I also think that it is like I don't know. Okay, so let me just go in. This is an article about how fucking Biden and Trump's fucking uh stance on Israel differs. They are not exactly the fucking same. And the fact of the matter is Trump lied like he was going to be like I said, he was going to be fucking wearing a fucking keffiyeh or something. So let me just read this. Here's a comparison of their Biden has generally continued what had for decades been a bipartisan approach to Israel. Strong support, but always with varying degrees of inclusion and assistance for the Palestinians. The president has used U.S. power on occasion to attempt to influence Israeli behavior, such as in its conduct of the current war or in resisting controversial changes to Israel's judiciary, which many saw as undemocratic. He has not gone so far as President Obama, for example, who insisted Israel freeze construction of settlements in areas claimed by the Palestinians. But when push comes to shove, Biden has sided with Israel, declining to significantly hold back military aid and vetoing United Nations measures opposed by Israel, including a recent one to formally recognize a Palestinian state. Even so, Biden, like most past U.S. leaders has sought to maintain some balance and support for Palestinians and to present the United States as a potential mediator in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. By contrast, Trump was the first U.S. chief executive who gave near absolute unconditional support to Israel. The first, not Bush, not Reagan. He was the first to give near absolute unconditional support to Israel, handing the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu everything it asked for and then some. Trump moved the U.S. embassy to Tel Aviv to the. That's why Netanyahu was grinning from ear to ear at the fucking press conference, because he never expected a president to say, "We're going in there and we're getting these fucking people out of there," because no president ever has. That's why you should have voted the other way. But fuck Kamala, because they're the same. Trump moved the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to the disputed capital of Jerusalem, the first major country to do so. He also endorsed Israeli control of the Golan Heights, a contested fertile plateau that Israel seized from Syria in the 1967 Middle East War. He did so without concessions from Israel. Trump was so popular among right-wing Israelis that Netanyahu used him as he campaigned for re-election, adorning cities across Israel with huge posters of the two men together. A Jewish settlement in the West Bank named itself after Trump. Trump's one-sided approach won him praise from some pro-Israel advocates, but critics say he also sacrificed valuable U.S. leverage in negotiating broader peace in the region. So he doesn't even give a fuck about the United States, where the United States, he just wants to give them what they want. And people, they're also forgetting that, like, the October 7th thing did happen. Maybe fucking, like, it was a false flag operation. We don't fucking know. But, like, that is the reason why they did what they did. Granted, it's not called for, and it was probably something they wanted to do. They probably knew fucking Biden would own the damage and Trump would go in and redevelop it, because that's what he claimed he wanted to fucking do, to anybody who's been paying attention. So yeah, it's clear that, like, what the other thing was, like, Biden withheld those bombs. Biden voiced U.S. support for Israel and its right to self-defense after the October 7th Hamas attack that left nearly 1,200 Israelis and others dead. 1,200. Jesus Christ, I didn't know it was that many people. 1,200. The United States stands with, to people that support Israel, that was like fucking 9/11. That was like, holy shit, like, this is scary as hell. That was like a big deal to them. And so, granted, they have invaded this country and these people are just fighting back to some degree. I don't know. It seems like there should be some kind of fucking compromise or something. Biden nevertheless advised the Israeli government to show more restraint in its attacks on Palestinians in Gaza, to minimize civilian casualties, to rein in vigilante violence against Palestinians in the West Bank. With mounting international condemnation over an Israeli military response that has left more than 37,000 Palestinians dead, critics say that the Biden administration hasn't done enough to restrain Israel. The president recently stepped up pressure for an immediate ceasefire and unveiled a plan that would free hostages and bring about a final end to the war. This was May 9th, or this was May 2024. So this was, or June 12th, 2024. So this was during the campaign. By contrast, Trump hasn't expressed concern for Palestinian casualties. He has urged Israel to get the job done to destroy Hamas. You have to finish up your war, Trump told the right-wing Israeli newspaper Israel Hayom in late March. You got to get it done. Trump accused Biden of abandoning Israel when the administration briefly suspended the shipment of 2,000-pound bombs to Israel as Israel threatened to move into the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Trump criticized Israel for losing the PR battle by allowing images of the war in Gaza to be disseminated on TikTok, mostly, probably. He did not explain how Israel could prevent that. You know, I don't know, people expected like Gandhi to get to run for president or something. It's like more people are going to die because of this, probably. I mean, Trump is going to give them, or I mean, their cause is over because Trump is going to give them whatever they want, and basically said the United States is going to go in and live where they used to live. Biden supports an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel, an idea that remains dominant in the international community's position toward the region. As we look to the future, the only real solution to the situation is a two-state solution over time, Biden said in his State of the Union address this year. There is no other path that guarantees Israel's security and democracy. There is no path that guarantees the Palestinians can live in peace with dignity. Trump has been dismissive of the aspiration of a Palestinian state, although on occasion he has not discounted it completely. He shut down the de facto Palestinian embassy in Washington and generally refused to meet with Palestinian leaders as president. Most importantly, Trump's decision to move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem reversed decades of U.S. and international policy that held the ultimate designation of the capital of Israel would be determined in a final peace agreement. Palestinians also claim parts of Jerusalem as their capital. Biden has not reversed the Trump move, leaving the embassy in Jerusalem, nor has he made good on a promise to reopen the U.S. consulate in East Jerusalem, which historically had served Palestinians and was closed by Trump. Biden has been adamant. So, I mean, that's a big difference right there, you know? And I think if you really prodded Trump and, you know, what he really thinks is that the Palestinians do not deserve an independent state. I'm sure that's what he believes. But he plays coy about it, right? Or he did until he got reelected. Biden has been adamant that any future arrangement for the Gaza Strip leave it intact and in Palestinian hands. Trump has not pronounced one. Well, he did pronounce now. He's told us what he thinks it should be. Biden has been adamant that any future arrangement for the Gaza Strip leave it intact and in Palestinian hands. He's been adamant about that. The old senile motherfucker. You know, and I think Kamala's policies were even more pro-Palestinian. Not that she was like, you know, going to stop the war or whatever. People act like Biden was the one who was doing it. You know, they act like he was, you know, Biden killed these fucking people. Biden dropped the bombs or something. It's like he strongly condemned it. So anyway, that's enough. I mean, like, obviously, the Biden has the typical United States point of view, which to the left, in a certain way, is just like hedging and supporting Israel. It's not necessarily giving them everything they want. And I mean, the leftists are trying to live like their idealism and their principles, and it's going to get us all killed. Well, no, I understand that. I understand that, like, and the thing about Bernie is it gives them the notion that they could have it. You know, the it gives them the idea that if the corrupt DNC, the corrupt lying DNC didn't go in and fix the election, that Bernie would have gotten elected and he would have gone in and been just like this morally pure And maybe that's true. I'm not exactly sure what Bernie's position on Palestine is. Is he a two-state solution guy? Let's see. What is Bernie's position on Israel? But, he's also in a position where he can do that. He is from a state where they support his policies. It would be nice like that if it was more like that across the country. It's not. I mean, people in this country are misinformed. They are brainwashed. They're super right wing. Um, I just don't necessarily know that I agree that Bernie would have won. And I don't think people like Joe Rogan would have voted for him either. I think they use that as a way to like seem cool. I think if he had actually been the candidate and been under that kind of scrutiny, he gets to occupy like this underdog place. He's not even a Democrat, he's an independent. So, in that sense, it is kind of understandable that they might sabotage him because he's not even part of the fucking party. He is a little bit of a spoil sport. And I just don't think if he was the candidate and if push came to shove and he was running against Trump, I think those people would still choose Trump. They just like him better. They like his fucked up attitude. They like his dickhead sense of humor and the character that he plays. I think with, in this country, when you see these kind of outlier leftist candidates like AOC or the squad, it's like they are, and no pun intended, like in the minority. And it's important that they're there. There should be more of them. The left should be a real left. To some degree, I guess it is because of corporate sponsors of politicians, definitely. But there's a whole huge. The politicians are just one part of that system. There's a whole cultural system that goes into dumbing people down, where this is like what they want. They want like a center candidate for some fucking reason. Now, I don't think the Democrat strategy should have been to pander to those people by getting Liz Cheney to endorse that in shit. That was stupid as fuck. And that doesn't appeal to me. But most of the government is like I just don't think that they would actually like look at what happened when Obama tried to fucking pass healthcare. Like they did it. They tried it. Obama went in after Bush. I think they had did they have the Senate in the House? I'm hiccuping. This is like really bad. Did they have the Senate and the House? And they tried to get healthcare done for, just a national health insurance. And the Republicans gummed up the work so goddamn much that it became this compromised thing that we have today, Obamacare, whatever the fuck, Affordable Care Act. It's like that's what would happen with anything Bernie tried to do. It would have, even the Democrats, it would have just been so fucking compromised. And the Republicans would have done any fucking thing they could have possibly done to sabotage it. Biden's policies were pretty progressive for a president. It would be nice if somebody like Bernie could be president and, like, get things done, and if somebody like that set the tone. I mean, even Jimmy Carter wasn't like that. Maybe his personality was, like, kind and giving, but, like, as a politician, even he was like, and people would be saying, "Oh, they're soft on." The thing is, if you actually try to govern this country as a leftist, the right wing comes after you so hard and they go, "Oh, this person is soft on crime, they're soft on national," like, look at all the blue cities and how they're getting trashed. They're soft on crime, they're waste this is the enemy now. This is why Doge can go in there and people feel like this righteous hatred and want to slash government spending. It's like, well, look at California. Look at all the regulations. Look at all the red tape. It's going to take them 20 years to rebuild. People in America hate that shit. There's been a lot of, in a certain way, the conservatives have always been not necessarily like innovative, but like look at the AM radio thing. In a certain way, the manosphere is just like the mutation of Rush Limbaugh. Like conservatives have always, or at least, maybe not always, but in my lifetime, they've found these fucking kind of like overlooked channels or like disused channels, alternate media, and they've occupied it. When I was younger, every fucking AM radio, Ronald Reagan deregulated the FCC so that you could just buy every fucking radio station in the country. And so these big corporations bought all of the AM radio shit. And just put all you hear on AM radio now. You're not even going to hear music. All you hear is right-wing pundits. And it's just the most vile shit. It's Giuliani as a show, Sean Hannity. It's just Fox. It's Fox News. It's One America. It's all the same shit. It's all the same people. And people across this country in rural areas, on work sites, they're listening to their fucking AM radio. Listen to Rush Limbaugh all day. Just trash Hillary for decades. And in a certain way, the manosphere is just kind of like a retooled version of that. I don't know what it is about right-wing men that they want to listen to things. I guess it tickles their brain without them having to. It thinks for them. They're not really capable of doing it themselves, but they can listen to Tucker all day. Or fucking Theo Vaughn. While they're driving 100 miles to work each way in their Ford F-350, burning fucking diesel. Well, not diesel. And so, I don't know. In a certain way, I look at Bernie as just like a bigger version of Ralph Nader. Or it's almost like a, not that it's, I mean, it tells us something. They should have allowed Bernie to run to just see what would happen. Right. And it does kind of expose the Democrats' ass as like trying to, as the preservers of the status quo. But, I think that's not as insidious, as people believe. I think the Democrats do sort of fight for democracy or the version of it that we have. I think they fight for the rules as laid out in the fucking Constitution. Whereas, like, the Republicans are just fighting to like, destroy all of that stuff so they can get away with more in the private sector. And just as individuals, they can get away with more. They can do more crime, basically. I think Democrats do believe in, like, the rule of law and shit like that. And it's like, it's become a weakness that they, like, play by the rules. Like, people look at that like they're just wimpy losers or something because the Republicans will literally just cheat, do any fucking thing, not appoint Merrick Garland. Rush their Supreme Court picks through. And so, none of us are like psyched about Biden per se, but it's incremental. It's like 4 more years of Biden would have probably gotten us a little bit more healed financially, economically. If you actually looked at the policies, what Biden was doing, where our economy is now based on where we were in the pandemic, they righted the fucking ship. No one gave a fuck about that. They didn't really, think about what Trump would do. People were being a little bit stingy, I think. And, part of my reason for discussing Bernie in this way is like, this is the Republican strategy. All they have to do is get people to think that the Democrats are more corrupt than they are. And the Democrats are uncool. They're the status quo. They're the kind of lame establishment candidate. And you couple that with just like the undercurrent of the skepticism in our culture and the deep conspiracy kind of thinking. And the Democrats, I don't know. It does, why are they so celebrity obsessed? Why are they, Diddy adjacent, or they have all these, the Epstein thing. They get blamed for that kind of Illuminati conspiracy thing way more than the Republicans. The Democrats are the globalists. They're the ones that are eating children. Hillary is at the Diddy party. And so I don't know. I think now we've gotten a reminder of what it's like in under fascism again, and under Trump. And so what now? What do we do now? What do the leftists do now? Because that's almost just like a splinter or something. Like Kamala did get 70 million votes or whatever it is still. Like, it's easy to be like idealistic, or I don't know. These people are like perfectionists in their politics. And I think one reason why the DNC has become what it is because like our system is set up in this like weird compromise, or like where there is like, I don't know what it is about America that requires the two-party system. It's a bigger place to try to govern than these smaller European countries that have like multi-party systems or consensus voting. I mean, I think, okay, this is maybe what I'll end on is like, our government definitely needs, there's a smarter way to do it. Like, there are inherent design flaws like the Electoral College and things that skew the table in this country toward slave owner type, states' rights. The South, they had to balance it right? When they were designing it to appease half the country, the South. And we're left with that stuff, which is why um the electoral college sort of corrects the popular vote and hands it over to these Republican Bush or Trump the first time. That's like a remnant, right, of that a policy to sort of it's like giving every state 2 senators. Well, South Dakota and North Dakota are both red states and nobody lives there. It's like, well, that's to keep it balanced so the fucking racists can have half the power. Um but like it does seem like our government needs an overhaul. There is probably a better way to do it now that actually is more democratic, that will serve us better. It's also like it's a terrible thing that like most of the people in this country are against Trump. Most, like he lost the popular vote for the first time and he's unpopular now, right? Like his approval rating is below 50%. Like the majority of the people didn't want Bush either. So it's like the system is not reflecting what we are fighting for and what we're earning. We are winning the elections. But the system is rigged against us. It's rigged against popular. They still have to maintain control through the electrical college. The electrical college. They can't really let us decide for ourselves. They still have to have representatives. It's like that was the best they could do in 1776 or whatever, 1790 when they fucking drew up the plans. Now it's like we have new technologies. Our whole society has changed. And I think what's happening, and, to be honest, I'd be surprised if we have a fucking government by summer. Because I think, okay, to me, in a certain way, it's like what happened with MSNBC and CNN. I think the election, to some degree, people are like the viewership for these networks has plunged since the election because the story of the election basically was streamers, the people's media or the online media, the tech media. Basically, it's not the people's media. It's giving like the appearance that it's like a meritocracy people's media, but it's not. It's really like the tech oligarchs stealing the media. And I think we're in such an unprecedented place that it's like the idea that we would regulate any of this stuff or there would be like an FCC or something for Twitter or like, but this is the fifth estate now. And that's why it was such it should have been illegal for Elon Musk to buy Twitter. To be honest, Twitter should be nationalized or I don't know. It should function more like a newspaper does where like its goal is objectivity and truth. And that's what the algorithm should serve. Not Elon Musk's agenda of white supremacy and racism and trolling. But because there's no regulation and there's no oversight, and these billionaires can do whatever they want, Elon Musk could just, in effect, it'd be like buying NBC, CBS, ABC in the 60s. It's like suddenly you own all of the media and you get to program it and show whatever you want. and run whatever political ads you want and exclusively showcase your political agenda. And that's just not fair. That's why the FCC existed. That's why they break up and you can't own multiple newspapers and you can't own multiple radio stations and you can't own multiple now it's like he owns every fucking TV station that exists. And all he had to do was buy one fucking app. But the apps have superseded the TV set. You know, things like MSNBC, that was basically like the kill shot. And now they're all talking about like CNN might pivot to be a fucking app. They're just like, why even have a network? Why not just have a streaming fucking channel? And that's why, that's why we're in such a gold rush to be influencers, because that is the new, having 1 million subscribers on any platform is like being the New York Times. You're going to have as many, think about the circulation of these newspapers. In their heyday, they had 1 million subscribers. If you've got 1 million Instagram followers, you're as big as the New Yorker magazine or fucking NBC, sort of, or the Tonight Show. It's like they probably don't have a lot more followers than that, or you're at least in the conversation, right? And but it's not really a meritocracy because they own the channels and they program the channels. They decide the algorithm. They decide what gets seen, what gets viewed, what gets shown in the search results, the SEO. They know that that's where their power is. My hiccups are just marring this whole soundtrack. I sound like a fucking cartoon. It's like a Looney Tunes hiccup. I am going to get off pretty soon. But, okay, in the same way that I don't think the election results were real, but I think people, when the public narrative tells them a certain thing, they start to believe it about themselves. And so the election results they told everybody that the right is cool. These streamers are what's going on culturally. Gen Z men are incel, right-wing fucking nut jobs. And it's because they own the fucking reservoir. They're putting their fucking Kool-Aid in everybody's fucking tap water. And so generally over time, particularly if you have no critical media thinking skills, you just watch these podcasts and you think, yeah, the DNC is corrupt and Biden sucks and they're the same. They're exactly the same. Trump just took Biden's plan and put his name on it. It's like, they're not exactly the same. And so I don't know. I think in the same way that, we kind of view all these institutions as like one fucking pie crust, like MSNBC and Maddow and George Clooney and Obama and Oprah and Springsteen and Tom Hanks and the pedos and Clinton and Chuck Schumer and Pelosi. They're all working together, and Bill Gates, and they wanted to put a chip in, and blah, blah, blah. And by voting for Trump, that's like a fucking, silver bullet in the corruption and the fucking evil, and he's going to fight for us. And so if the election was an indication to the public that it's uncool to watch MSNBC and it's cool to watch Hassan Piker, like, oh, I have to get some kind of new source for my punditry because I'm not cool anymore. So I'm going to stop. Or it's just, it's like when, I don't know, if people feel like they're at an uncool party, they want to leave. They don't want to be at something that like feels like bad energy or is not uh like hot. They want to feel like it's the place to be. They want to and it's like they don't want to be at a party that nobody's at. People want to be at a party that's packed. If there's nobody there, then nobody wants to be there. And so once you get that stink on you, people start to desert you. That's sort of what's happening with MSNBC and CNN. It's like, oh, these networks like really were off, and they try to ram their agenda down our throat. The neoliberal woke whatever MSDNC. They're working in cahoots with you know who's the chair of the DNC? I don't know, Pete Buttigieg or something. I don't know. They're all the same. Brian Williams and Lawrence O'Donnell and Maddow and Nicole Wallace. They're all fucking just a mouthpiece for the neoliberal, genocide fucking machine of Kamala and Oprah and the child whatever Diddy party, Ashton Kutcher. And I don't know. I think they are probably looking at the government in the same way. I think the tech guys are looking at the government like the TV networks. Like this is just we need to trap this and bottle it up and just get rid of it. We need to just take care of this. Just get it done. These guys are obsolete. This government is obsolete. They are dinosaurs. They're trying to control this country, yet they don't care about the Constitution. Elon Musk does not care. He doesn't know what it is. He, he said a bunch of shit on the campaign trail about how this will be the last election and you got to vote for democracy. It's going to be dictatorship if the Democrats win. When the truth is the opposite. He doesn't give a fuck about this guy's not elected. He's going in with all this power and authority like he's the fucking king. And I think they're going to try to topple the government in the same way that crypto is trying to topple the currency. And I don't know what they envision. I think we're at a time when like we are going to have to rethink just what even it means to be a country. Like the internet has reorganized our lives and connected us with this sort of weird global, I don't know, just like we're displaced where we are, but we still live where we are and like we share commonalities. But it's like, I think these tech people just look at government as like a hindrance. And it's like this kind of antiquated, like they could do it better. Like, oh, we could do currency better. We can do everything better. Let me buy Twitter. I could do it better. We're going to design the algorithm because we can do everything. We can build cars better. We can build spaceships better. I'm a genius. I'm the smartest man in the world. I'm the richest man in the world. I created this, or I created this app that has enslaved billions of people or whatever. Clearly I'm a genius and I can fix this. I can make this better. Let me just go into the United States, and I think that's probably their ultimate goal. It's just like, that's why Bezos and Zuckerberg and all these dickheads are at the inauguration, because they look at it like, we're not going to allow this to fuck our shit up, our power. And in fact, we're going to be in charge. The United States is a business. We're the ultimate businessmen. We know how to run fucking businesses. We're the richest guys. We're making all this money. And so we're going to be there when they change the rules, when they rewrite the Constitution, when they take power. It is a coup d'etat. But I just think I don't know. What is a country even for? What does it mean? It's tied to the money. It's tied to the land. I mean, especially the United States. The United States is made up of all these people that are not really from here, or at least most of them. And so what is we just share territory. We're in an enclosure together. I've been thinking about that term a lot recently. Well, because I was watching this talk. This guy's talking about neoliberalism and creating an enclosure and all that kind of shit. And a country is just sort of an enclosure, and an economy. What is the enclosure of the economy? Now that there's an internet, you can buy things from all over the world. You have them shipped to your house. So what's the enclosure of a country? What is the I mean, these guys want to rethink big stuff like we want to get rid of the income tax. We want to have this wealth fund. We want to do tariffs. We want to take, I think they have, maybe they're just throwing that at us as to get us off guard, and it will gradually get whittled down over time to nothing. But, uh, I think to some degree, in the same way that crypto is some kind of redesign of money that nobody really understands, or uh it's just fake. It's all just like a con. It's like this elaborate story that doesn't mean anything. It's just designed to confuse you and act and make you feel like you don't understand. Well, it's on the blockchain. What don't you understand? It's on the blockchain. And so I don't know. I think who knows what will remain of the United States, if there will even be a thing called the United States. I guess they will probably just completely rebuild it under the hood while maintaining like the facade of the flag and the image of what the United States represents, like war and machismo and everything that they're like getting rid of, is like that's the identity. They don't want DEI, they don't want uh I don't know, women doing anything. So, but it also seems like in the same way that the viewers are deserting MSNBC or just don't give a fuck about it, I think the voters are just like, yeah, fucking torch it. I think certain people are excited about, oh yeah, he's gutting this corruption. He's going in. They're getting rid of all the inefficiency. I hate the idea that like efficiency is the guiding principle of our society. See, this is what's frustrating about if our world is going to be reformatted, which it seems like it needs to be. I just wish there was more elegant, artistic, beautiful thinking. Like Elon Musk does not, none of these people seem like they have really our best interests when they're reformatting our society and our way of life. It's like there are things that should be like, is efficiency the highest value for every fucking thing? Like, I need to do this as fast as possible, make as much money as possible, do this as quickly as possible. I need a self-driving car so I can be more efficient. It's like efficiency is good in certain circumstances. When it comes to building and things like that, it's sort of nice to have inefficiency. I don't know. Like, the reason why all the buildings are ugly now is because the materials they use, it's all efficiency. It's all like, how can we cut costs, save money, save time, make it fast, make it cheap, no complications, just just throw it up, plywood and flat and no ornamentation, no consideration for like beauty or way of life or improving people's way of life, no lobby, no fucking courtyard, no nice fucking cornice work, no mansard roofs, just minimalism everywhere because that's efficiency. Like, taxes are a fucking pool of money that we put in under the trust that they're going to be used to, like, for the public good and to make our lives better. That is a possibility. That's not what these guys are going to do. They just want all the money. They want control of all the money because they think they know better. They think they can do better. And they're insisting it upon us. And we're enclosed with them. So what can we do? We're trapped. All right. I'm going to get off. Maybe I'll get off at 2:30. Fuck. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to leave pretty soon. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. I know I look like shit and I'm rambling, and that's the point. If you don't like the rambling, then you probably wouldn't tune in. But yeah, I don't know. I think we should take into, to account beauty. Like the robber barons. Say what you will, we're worse off now. The robber barons, at least they built these beautiful libraries, and I don't know. Where's the civic minded anything these days? Or, like, I have this book. Let me just get this book real fast. I may have talked about it before. This is one of my favorite books I've ever read or had. A Pattern Language, Towns, Buildings, Construction. Now, this is a bunch of, and I found out about this in high school. For people who played The Sims, in the booklet of The Sims, Will Wright, who I think is a genius, had all these book recommendations, one of which was this book. And so I got it from the Grandview Library. I bought this at The Thing, that thrift store in Greenpoint. I had never seen it since high school, but I've been looking for this book my whole life. I got it for $5. And it's so The Sims, it's all about kind of lifestyle design. Your house, your activities, whatever. And I guess that game is about efficiency to some extent, but it's also about happiness. But this whole book is little essays and diagrams and things that are about just kind of different situations and circumstances. It's almost like some kind of European, theory book. Like, they do a lot more of this kind of fun, or at least they do now. America used to have this shit. I think they're all like Berkeley professors, I think. Professor of architecture at University of California, Berkeley. So he's probably an ultra hippie. Back when it was free, before Reagan got a hold of it. Shlomo Angel has a PhD in city planning and now teaches at Asian Institute of Technology, Bangkok. Max Jacobson has a PhD in architecture and teaches at University of California. So they're all architects, painters. But so it's just, every chapter, old age cottage. Old people, especially when they are alone, face a terrible dilemma. On the one hand, there are inescapable forces pushing them toward independence. Their children move away, their neighborhood changes, their friends and wives and husbands dies. On the other hand, by the very nature of aging, old people become dependent on simple conveniences, simple conditions of society about them. And so, I don't know, it goes chapter by chapter on just sort of like these different, like architectural circumstances which sort of aid and abet, ideally, stages of our life or circumstances of our life, where it's like, okay, private terrace on the street, and it's got all this kind of psychology and philosophy about what works better than others, and so the whole book is just kind of advocating for good design, but kind of like organic design, not like now everything is very cold. It's very steely glass, smooth surfaces, flat surfaces. There's no ritual in the same way. You look at these apartment buildings in New York from 120 years ago, they all have gargoyles on them and fucking angels. And, there was a charm and a superstition or a magic to it. That is just totally gone now. Now it's just all the fucking volume or whatever that thing is.
Accessible green, main gateways, health center, market of many shops, university is marketplace, housing hill. So this is like an advocate for like, this is one of the nicest, this is why everybody goes to Italy for this kind of like, a bunch of villas kind of on the steep of the hill and kind of staggered. It's like that is there's certain things that human beings are drawn to, grottos, shade, places they can sit, the Tuileries or fucking, Europe has a lot of good public design. In a street cafe, the street cafe provides a unique setting special to cities, a place where people can sit lazily, legitimately, be on view, and watch the world go by. The most humane cities are always full of street cafes. Let us try to understand the experience which makes these places so attractive. We know that people enjoy mixing in public, in parks, squares, along promenades and avenues, in street cafes. The preconditions seem to be the setting gives you the right to be there by custom. There are a few things to do that are part of the scene, almost ritual, reading the newspaper, strolling, nursing a beer, playing catch. And people feel safe enough to relax, nod at each other, perhaps even meet. A good cafe terrace meets these conditions, but it has, in addition, special quality of its own. A person may sit there for hours in public. Strolling, a person must keep up a pace. Loitering is only for a few minutes. You can sit still in a park, but there is not the volume of people passing. It is a more private, peaceful experience. Sitting at home at one's porch is again different, far more protected, and there is not the mix of people passing by. But on the cafe terraces, you can sit still, relax, and be very public. As an experience, it has special possibilities. It is a risky place. So it's like, it's almost like Jane Jacobs or something. It's sort of like urban design, but it's just fascinating because it's kind of written from an oblique or like imaginative kind of theory. It's not just like this dry, oh, well, all the fucking data says this, and 76% of people prefer this, and blah. It's like there's a more into, these human designs. If you go to Europe, it's full of this, right? It's full of these kind of like hospitable plazas and squares and, overhangs and bay windows and, bridge hallways and shit, because it developed over thousands of years in this sort of like hobbit elfin way of people just like building shit that they thought was cool. Now it's like everything is designed in CAD and it's like, well, we need the square footage to have this much cubic blah blah blah, and that's not because of regulation. It's just because of corporate efficiency, right? And so we need to find a way to incentivize this kind of thing, this kind of warmth, this kind of ornamentation. People should have the right to sit all day in public at the cafe, watching people go by and musing and writing in their notebook. Everybody should be able to do that. That should be the goal. How do we free everybody from manual labor, basically, so they can do whatever they want, whether it makes money or not? And yet everything should still get done. Everything should, the manual labor, whatever. That's what the AI is for. That's what the robots are for. The robots are there to be a painless slave class. Or, we have that now. It's just people have to do hourly, you got to work at Aubon Pain or whatever. It's like, it sucks, like free these people from their shitty jobs, give them money, and just let everybody be free. Let everybody travel, let everybody build, do what they, have projects, have their own ideas, free them from the necessity of like, free feeding the market or whatever the fuck, selling their labor. That is capitalism. That's what they have above us, is that we can't be poets. We can't be Lord Byron, who gets a fucking salary of 1,700 pounds. We can't muse. That's the thing about poetry, is it provides a space to just experiment and do things for their own pleasure, and because they're weird and because they're different and obstinate, and it's a way of data mining these buried thought processes, resurfacing and resurrecting the imagination and the truth of like a wealthy life. Everybody's life should be a feast of convenience and abundant experience. People should be able to walk through the world if they want to, or watch fucking TV if they want, or whatever they want to do. And it shouldn't be incentivized to make us addicts and just zombies who just buy things and just say yes to whatever they want to sell us, and yes to work, and yes to spectacle, and yes to distraction, and yes to fucking the Trump dance and the YMCA. We're dedicated to the individual, to the local, to the idiosyncratic, to the unique, to the full of juice, for the geste and jouissance, and for real creative nonfiction and real creative prose, imaginative prose that has character, that has gumption, that has spunk, that has personality, and also making broad pronouncements about our culture, which is created by all of this stuff. All of the broligarchy is only going to create more hype beasts. And thank you for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And I'll be at the West Park open mic tonight. Oh yeah, I have a few gigs coming up, actually. I'll be Monday. Come on out to open mic on Monday. We're celebrating Black History Month all month. And March 1st, I am doing I'm playing. Somebody hired me to play guitar and sing. Well, they didn't hire, but I've got a gig, Caffeine Underground, March 1st. Shout out to Chris Aguayo, my man. He saw me playing the Buddy Holly songs, and nice enough. So I'm excited. I'm excited to just play guitar and sing. And I feel more, I don't know, I was nervous to do that for a long time, but now I feel like I've kind of got an interesting approach. So look for that, fans of my music. I will be alive at Caffeine Underground March 1st, and then March 6th, I'm doing a reading. Geo, his book launch. His book looks super dope. It's exactly what I'm talking about, actually. Everything that I've sort of mentioned about being like cool nonfiction, like interesting nonfiction. His book is about physics and, science and things. But it's also just like very creative and colloquial and funny. It's almost like a graphic novel or it's a. And so I encourage more people to do that. Just make whatever you want to make, whatever weird idea you have, just do it. Just put it into existence. So I'll be March 6th reading my poetry someplace in Bushwick. I'm not sure what it's called, but I'm doing 15 minutes. So get ready for that. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you at open mic, everybody. Be there. DM to sign up. Have a great weekend.